My name is Lisa. I'm 27 years old. I live in a small town with my parents. I work as a receptionist at a private clinic. My life is not perfect, but I've always tried to be kind, peaceful, and simple. I don't like drama. I don't like shouting. I just wanted a calm, happy life with someone who loves me. That's what I thought I found in Henry. Henry and I met 2 years ago. He was quiet, smart, and well organized. He worked as an accountant in a law firm. We met at my cousin's engagement party. He asked for my number after we danced. I didn't think he was serious at first, but he kept calling. Slowly, I started to like him. We didn't rush things. He met my parents, I met his. We talked about the future. He told me he wanted a wife who would stand by him, respect him, and make his home peaceful. That sounded normal. I said I wanted a husband who would be kind, honest, and understanding. We agreed on many things. We didn't fight much. But looking back now, I see there were signs. Henry liked being in control. He didn't shout or act crazy, but he always wanted things done his way. If I disagreed with something, he would go quiet for days. If I changed my mind on a plan, he would act like I had insulted him. He said things like, "I'm the man, I know better," or "A wife must support, not question." I thought he was just traditional. I thought I could manage it. I thought love was enough. I was wrong. Our wedding day was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. The church was full. My dress was beautiful. My friends were dancing. My mother was smiling from ear to ear. Henry looked handsome in his black suit. Everything was going well. I felt nervous, but I was happy too. After the church ceremony, we went to the reception hall. People were taking pictures. We had just finished the couple's first dance. We sat down to eat. I was talking to my aunt and laughing about something when Henry looked at me and said, "Lisa, pass me that glass of water." I didn't think it was a big deal, but I was tired. My feet were hurting from the heels. I had barely eaten anything. And something about the way he asked, like I was a servant, not his bride, just didn't sit right. So I replied, quietly, "Can't you take it yourself?" The glass was just a few inches away from him. He could have stretched his hand and grabbed it. He stared at me for a few seconds, like I had slapped him. "What did you say?" I repeated it. "It's right in front of you, Henry." He didn't say anything else. He turned his face away and sat still. I went back to my food. I didn't think it was such a big deal. In my mind, I thought maybe he was upset. But he would calm down. I didn't know I had just broken my marriage with one small sentence. 10 minutes later, he stood up and walked away. I thought maybe he was going to the bathroom. A few minutes passed. Then I saw him walking back toward me, but this time, with something in his hand. A white paper. He stopped in front of me, leaned over the table, and dropped the paper right next to my plate. "Sign this," he said. I looked at it. It was a divorce letter. I couldn't believe it. I blinked hard. I thought I was dreaming or being pranked. "What is this, Henry?" I asked. He looked at me like a stranger. Cold. Distant. Angry. "You refuse to pass me water," he said. "If I can't send you, then I don't need you as my wife." I laughed a little, confused. "Are you joking? Because I didn't pass you water?" He nodded. "Yes. It's not just water. It's respect. You showed me that you won't obey me in public. So what's the point?" By this time, my mom had stood up. My dad walked over. Henry's parents looked shocked. His mom grabbed his arm. "What are you talking about?" She asked him. "This is nonsense." "It's not nonsense," he said. "I won't marry a woman who disrespects me on our wedding day." Everyone was staring. The music had stopped. The DJ didn't know what to do. Guests were whispering. I just sat there in silence, shaking. My hands were sweating. My heart was pounding. I wanted to cry but I held it in. "Please don't do this," I whispered. He ignored me. He placed a pen beside the paper. You can sign it now or I'll send it later. Either way, I'm done. And then he walked out of the hall. I didn't cry when he walked out. I was too shocked to cry. Everyone around me was whispering. Some people were looking at me with pity, others with confusion. I wanted to disappear. I wanted the ground to open and swallow me, but I just sat there, frozen. My mother leaned close and asked in a low voice, "Lisa, what's going on?" I couldn't speak. My lips moved, but no words came out. My father stood behind me with his arms crossed. I could see the anger in his eyes. He wasn't just angry at Henry, he was hurt for me. His only daughter had just been thrown away like trash in front of hundreds of people. Henry's mother followed him out of the hall, but his father stayed behind. He came to our table and said to my parents, "Please don't worry. This is just a misunderstanding. I'm sure he'll calm down." My dad looked at him and said, on his wedding day, he brings divorce papers to the table. What kind of man does that? I agree, Henry's dad said. He's being too harsh. Let me speak to him. A few minutes later, Henry's dad left the hall too. Now the guests were uncomfortable. Some started walking out quietly. Others kept looking at me like I had done something terrible. I heard one woman whisper, maybe she insulted him in front of everyone. Another said, he must have seen a bad side of her. Men don't act like that for no reason. I wanted to scream at them. I wanted to tell everyone it was just about a stupid glass of water. But I stayed quiet. I was too tired, too embarrassed. My mom held my hand and said, "It's okay, baby. We're here. Don't think about anyone else." But her voice was shaking. I knew she was as hurt as I was. About 20 minutes passed before Henry's father came back in. He walked straight to my dad and pulled him aside. They spoke in low voices for a while. I watched their faces closely. My dad kept shaking his head. Then I saw him rub his eyes like he was trying to hold back tears. Finally, both of them came back to the table. Henry's dad looked broken. "I'm so sorry," he said to my mom and me. "We tried. He's not listening to anyone. He said he's made his decision." I didn't say anything. My dad looked at me. "Lisa, let's go. There's nothing left here." I stood up slowly. My wedding dress suddenly felt too heavy. The necklace around my neck felt like a chain. My shoes hurt. My hands were still shaking. We walked out of the hall. Cameras were still flashing. Some people tried to talk to me. I didn't look at them. I couldn't. When we got outside, the sun had already started to go down. My parents' car was parked near the entrance. My mom opened the back door and helped me inside. She sat beside me and closed the door. I looked at the mirror in front of me. My face looked pale. My makeup was smudged around my eyes. I didn't even recognize myself. In the front seat, my dad didn't start the car right away. He just sat there, holding the steering wheel. Then he said something that broke me. "I gave that boy everything. I trusted him with you." I turned to look at him. His eyes were red. He continued, "I treated him like my own son. And he shamed us like this. In front of all our people. In front of God." My mother reached out and touched his shoulder. "Please, not now." He nodded slowly and started the car. We drove home in silence. When we got to the house, I went straight to my room. I didn't change. I just lay on the bed in my wedding dress and stared at the ceiling. My phone kept buzzing. I didn't answer any calls. I didn't reply to any texts. I didn't want to explain. What could I even say? That my marriage ended because I didn't pass a glass of water, that the man who promised to love me forever couldn't even forgive one small moment. Around 10 p.m., my mom knocked softly and came in. She had a bowl of rice and chicken stew in her hand. "You haven't eaten all day," she said. I sat up slowly and took the bowl. But after one bite, I started crying. Big, heavy tears. The kind that comes from deep inside your chest. My mom sat beside me and held me like I was a little girl again. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. After I stopped crying, I asked her, was it my fault? She looked at me like I had just said something insane. Don't ever ask that again, she said. A man who truly loves you doesn't throw you away because of one sentence. I nodded, but deep inside, the guilt was still there. She left the room quietly, and I sat there for a long time, still in my dress. That night, I didn't sleep. All I kept thinking was, if he could leave me this fast, maybe he never really loved me at all. The days after the wedding were the worst days of my life. I stayed in my room most of the time. I didn't open the curtains. I didn't answer calls. I didn't go online. I didn't want to see people or explain anything. The silence in the house was loud. I could hear my parents talking in whispers in the kitchen. Sometimes my mom would knock and bring me food. But I couldn't eat much. I didn't cry every day. Some days I just stared at the wall for hours, asking myself the same question over and over, why did this happen to me? But even worse than my own thoughts was what I started hearing from outside. People in my town love to talk. Especially when something big happens. And my story. It spread fast. The girl who got dumped at the wedding, the bride who got divorced in front of her guests, the woman who disrespected her husband on the first day. I didn't even need to go outside to hear it. My cousin sent me screenshots of people gossiping on Facebook. A girl from my secondary school posted a status that said, "Respect your husband or end up like Lisa." Someone even made a joke in the comments, "She couldn't pass water, now she has all the time to cry in it." It wasn't funny. But people laughed anyway. Some people tried to defend me. They said Henry overreacted. That no good man would leave his bride over something so small. But others took his side. They said I was too proud, too bold, too disrespectful. Even people I thought were my friends stayed quiet. I didn't know what hurt more, the public shame or the private silence. A few days after the wedding, my dad called me into the living room. I could tell he had something serious to say. He asked me to sit. "I've spoken to Henry's father again," he said. "They're embarrassed too. But Henry is not changing his mind." I didn't say anything. "He has already sent the divorce file to the court," my dad added. "You'll be getting official papers soon." Then he said something that surprised me. "If you want, we can try to fight it legally. We can drag this. But I won't do anything unless you want that." I looked at him for a long moment. Then I said, "No. Let him go. If that's who he is, I don't want him back." My dad nodded and leaned back in the chair. I saw a small tear roll down his cheek. My strong, proud father breaking quietly. That night, I went through the photos from the wedding on my phone. I deleted most of them. But I kept a few photos of me and my parents, me and my little brother, and one of me alone, smiling. It felt fake now, that smile. But it was still mine. A week later, I had to leave the house for the first time. I needed to go back to work. I was scared. I didn't know what my co-workers had heard. I was worried they'd look at me like a failure. When I walked into the clinic, everyone stopped talking. One of the nurses gave me a quick hug. My boss nodded at me kindly but didn't say much. Most people avoided eye contact. I was glad. I didn't want pity or fake concern. During lunch break, I sat alone. A colleague I barely spoke to before came and sat next to me. "Can I say something?" she asked. I nodded. "I just want you to know you did nothing wrong. I don't care what people are saying outside. A man like that. He saved you by leaving early." I looked at her, surprised. "My cousin married someone like that," she continued. 10 years in, and she still can't breathe in that marriage. You got out early. It hurts now, but believe me, it's a blessing." That was the first time I felt a little stronger. After work, I went to a small grocery shop near my street. As I was paying, I noticed 2 older women by the bread section looking at me. One of them said, loudly on purpose, "That's her." I looked down and walked out fast. At home, I cried again. But not because of Henry. This time, I cried because people didn't understand what it felt like to be judged for something so private, so painful. I didn't fight with Henry. I didn't cheat. I didn't insult his family. I just said no once. And he turned that one word into the end of everything. That night, I started writing in a notebook. I wrote down everything I was feeling. I wrote letters I would never send to Henry. I wrote letters to myself too. In one letter, I wrote, "You are not weak. You are not a failure. You just escaped something you didn't even know was a trap." I slept better that night, and for the first time since the wedding, I started to think, maybe this is not the end of my story. Maybe it's just the beginning. 3 months have passed since that day. I no longer cry every night. I no longer hide when I go outside. And I don't wear the shame that once felt stuck to my skin. I still remember the pain. But it doesn't control me anymore. In fact, I think that day saved me. At first, I thought something was wrong with me. I kept asking myself why it happened. I kept wondering if I could have changed things by just passing him that glass of water. But healing gives you new eyes. You start to see the truth you couldn't see before. Henry didn't leave me because of the water. He left because he didn't see me as an equal. He wanted someone who would say yes all the time, someone who would obey, not someone who thinks for herself. That's not a marriage. That's control, and I'm glad I didn't fit into his plan. I've started doing things I couldn't do before. I joined a women's support group in town. We meet every Saturday, and we talk about relationships, growth, and how to rebuild our lives. Some of the women there are divorced. Some are single mothers. Some were never married. But all of them are strong in their own way. Being around them made me realize I wasn't alone. At work, I've been more focused. My boss noticed. He said I seem more mature now, more calm. I smiled when he said that, because only I know how far I've come. Every day, I choose to move forward. That's what healing is. Not forgetting, but moving anyway. People in town don't talk as much anymore. A new scandal happened, and their attention moved. That's how gossip works. It comes fast, and it dies just as fast, but I'll never forget how it felt to be the center of it. It taught me something valuable. People will talk no matter what. So live in a way that brings peace to your heart, not noise to theirs. Henry hasn't contacted me since. I don't expect him to. I don't want him to. I heard from someone that he's now talking to another girl from the city. I wish her strength, honestly. Because if he hasn't changed, she's in for a painful lesson. I'm not angry anymore. Not at him, not at myself. I'm thankful. Truly, he showed me his true face early. That's a gift. Some women don't see it until 10 years later, after 3 kids, after too many wounds. Now, I get to choose better. I get to choose myself. My mom told me last week, "You're shining again." I didn't believe her at first. But then I looked in the mirror and saw it. Too. Not in my skin or hair or clothes. But in my eyes, there's peace there now, and that peace came from surviving something that tried to break me. One afternoon, I walked past the wedding hall where my life almost changed forever. For a moment, my heart raced. But I stopped and looked at it. Then I smiled, not with sadness, but with strength, because that place didn't break me. It started me over. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe one day I'll fall in love again. Maybe I won't. But either way, I'll never lose myself trying to keep someone. I know my worth now. I know that I am not defined by one man's rejection. I am defined by how I rose after it.